You keep making the same mistake. Again and again. You say you want peace, yet you run into the fire. You dream of love, but you push it away the second it gets close. You crave success, but right when it's within reach, you destroy it. Why? Why do you keep setting fire to everything you've worked so hard to build? Why does self-destruction feel comfortable? The answer isn't obvious. It doesn't sit on the surface. It lives in the shadows of your childhood, in the way your nervous system was programmed, in the stories you were forced to tell yourself just to survive. This isn't about weakness. This isn't about failure. This is about survival. You grew up in an emotional battlefield. You learned that calm was the eye of the storm, not the end of it. You associated love with betrayal, affection with manipulation, success with pressure, and failure with relief. So you built a mind that feels safe in suffering and unsafe in silence. You seek the chaos not because you want it, but because it's all you've ever known. Now, when life offers you peace, you reject it. Not consciously, subconsciously, because peace feels unfamiliar, and the unfamiliar feels unsafe. It's a paradox. You sabotage not because you want to fail, but because deep down, you don't believe you're allowed to succeed. Your self-destruction is a form of loyalty to the pain that shaped you, to the version of you that had to suffer in silence, to the world that never let you feel safe. But here's the great question. What if you're wrong? What if safety isn't chaos? What if love isn't pain? What if peace isn't boring but healing? What if the only reason you feel empty in silence is because no one ever taught you how to exist there? No distractions, no drama, just stillness. The truth is brutal. You don't fear failure, you fear peace, because peace demands presence, and presence forces you to feel all the things you buried to survive. But if you're willing to look, really look into that quiet abyss, you might find something terrifying and liberating. You are not your chaos. You are not your pain. You are not the past that broke you. You are the one who survived it. And now, you have to decide. Will you keep playing the same story over and over, or will you learn to write a new one? The kind where you are allowed to rest, allowed to be loved, allowed to succeed, without setting it all on fire, because self-destruction isn't a curse. It's a pattern. And patterns can be broken if you're willing to stop running. You weren't born with this restlessness. It was given to you, etched into your nervous system by years of subtle chaos. You see, the human mind adapts. When the environment is unpredictable, volatile, it learns to survive by staying alert, always anticipating danger. So you learn to expect the worst. And more than that, you learn to need it. Calm became the most dangerous feeling of all, because calm meant something was wrong. Something was about to explode. So instead of resting, you braced. You braced even when there was nothing to fear. Your body didn't know the difference between real danger and the silence before it. And eventually your mind made a decision. Peace is a lie. Chaos is safer. That belief, it shaped your relationships. You chased people who were unstable. You created tension when things got quiet. You pushed away love because it felt wrong, too still, too exposed, too foreign. And in doing so, you mistook pain for passion, conflict for connection, anxiety for aliveness. This isn't just psychological. It's biological. Your nervous system got stuck in survival mode, and your sense of safety was rewired. You didn't ask for this, but you internalized it, like a child who hears their parents fight every night, and one day believes that love sounds like screaming. You adapted brilliantly, but adaptation is not healing. It's a defense, a mask, a prison. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's what's happening to you. You think you're choosing chaos, but it's choosing you. Because deep down, you've never seen what real peace looks like. You only saw silence used as a weapon. You only saw calm before collapse. So now when life offers you peace, you flinch. You sabotage it. Because part of you still believes that peace is the trap and chaos is the escape. But what if it's the other way around? You thought your control was your shield, but it's a prison. You curated every response, every silence, not to manipulate, but to survive. You believed being untouchable meant being safe, so you became emotionally invisible, detached, calculated, always one move ahead of abandonment. But here's the truth. What shields you from pain also blocks out love. You don't cry not because you're strong, but because if you start, you fear you won't stop. You don't open up, not because you don't care, but because vulnerability feels like danger. You don't trust calm, because silence reminds you of that night, that scream, that apology that never came. So you built a bunker. No one gets in, but you can't get out either. You call it independence, say you're just private, but really, you're alone, and it aches in places no one can see. You attract the same wounds in prettier bodies, the same betrayal in gentler voices, because the subconscious mind clings to one thing: familiarity, even when that means pain. You crave closeness, but flinch when someone tries. You sabotage love, then mourn its loss. You smile, say, "I'm fine," and ghost people who cared, then lie awake at night, wondering why you're hard to love. You're not. You're just scared to be seen, really seen, by someone who might not run, by someone who might stay. But here's the cost of not healing. The more you silence your pain, the louder it echoes in your patterns. You wear self-reliance like armor, but it's suffocating. You romanticize not needing anyone, but it's starvation. You confuse numbness with peace, because peace feels foreign, fake. You don't chase happiness. You chase what you know, and what you know is chaos, emotional whiplash, withdrawal. So when real love arrives, you test it. You push, you start wars in peaceful places, not because you want pain, but because you expect it. Because somewhere deep inside, you believe, if they saw the real me, they'd leave too. So you hide her, the inner child, the one still waiting to be chosen. Still hoping someone knocks and says, "It's over. You're safe now." But no one knocks. And so you become the silence you once feared. You grow into the person who leaves before anyone else can. That's the cost of survival over healing. It doesn't just stay in the past. It's in the lovers you push away, the peace you reject, the dreams you quietly bury. It's not loud, not dramatic, just erosion, one small choice at a time. And the worst part? You think it's normal, that it's just how you are, but you're not broken. You're carrying wounds that were never yours to begin with. Until you face them, they'll keep running your life. Silently, invisibly, completely. You wake up one morning and something feels different. Not lighter, not yet, but heavier in a way that feels honest. You've seen the truth, the mask of your chaos has slipped, and now you're staring at the raw, trembling self beneath. The one who's never known peace without fearing it. The one who has confused adrenaline with love, destruction with aliveness, drama with connection. That self is fragile, but it's also the key, because before healing begins, something must shatter, and that shattering has already happened. Now begins the rebellion. But this won't be loud. It won't be fireworks or rage or fists in the air. It's quiet, almost invisible. It happens when you say no to your old patterns without screaming, when you sit with discomfort instead of running back into the flames, when you stop texting the person who triggers your chaos, when you breathe through the silence instead of breaking it with a fight. The rebellion is 1,000 small deaths. The death of your compulsion to chase what hurts you, the death of your habit of interpreting calm as emptiness, the death of that addicted voice whispering, "Just one more storm." But rebellion also means relearning, learning that love can be safe, that boredom isn't death, it's spaciousness, that someone can leave the room and still come back, that a quiet mind doesn't mean you're about to be punished. And all of this, it requires courage far greater than any war you've ever fought in your mind. Because now, instead of surviving chaos, you're learning to survive peace. You start by questioning everything. Who told you silence was dangerous? Who made calm feel like suffocation? Where did you learn that intensity equals intimacy? And you don't just answer with thoughts. You answer with choice, with pause, with presence. Every time you don't react the way you used to, you're not failing. You're reprogramming. And yes, you'll slip. You'll crave the old noise. You'll reach for the familiar high of conflict. But the difference now is, you'll see it. You'll name it. And eventually you'll walk away from it. Not because you hate chaos, but because you finally love yourself more. Healing is not about erasing your past. It's about refusing to let it command your present. You're not rebelling against others. You're rebelling against the parts of you that settled for suffering because it was all you knew. That's the revolution. Choosing a new story, even if your voice shakes while telling it. You've been fighting shadows your whole life, chasing approval, escaping silence, craving noise because silence echoes too loudly with the parts of yourself you never dared to face. But here's the truth you've avoided all along. It was never about others. It was always about you. Not your parents. Not your past. Not society. You. The chaos you lived through wasn't your fault. But continuing to carry it? That's your choice now. And there it is. The painful freedom of responsibility. It's not a punishment. It's liberation. Because if it's yours to carry, it's also yours to put down. You see, your trauma is not your identity. Your wounds are not your name. You are not the story you've been telling yourself over and over like a lullaby woven with thorns. You are what you choose to become next. And that choice starts in the quiet, in the stillness that used to terrify you, in the silence where your true voice waits. You were never afraid of being alone. You were afraid of meeting the self that lived in the silence, the one you locked away beneath noise. Addiction, perfectionism, people-pleasing. The one who knew your truth before the world taught you to forget. And now as you sit in that darkness no longer resisting, it begins to change. Not into light, but into clarity. You finally see that healing isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering who you were before you had to survive. And that is the most terrifying, liberating, and beautiful truth you'll ever encounter.